talked about training. Can you talk about how you interact with oversight staff? I know you do some of that work and how we should think about that.
Yeah, no, we do a lot of work with the oversight committees as well. They're one of the most frequent requesters of GAO. They sponsor the high-risk series that we have. Now, this is a series we started in 1990, actually. It's been probably the longest-running bipartisan supported good government effort in our government's history. And what we focused on initially was fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement in the federal government. And then it's evolved over time to also be on transformation. We update the list at the beginning of each new Congress, and we focus on recommendations in that area. I always appear, as I did in February, or I think it was April maybe this year, to unveil the updating of the list in that area, and that leads to a lot of savings. But areas on the list are like Medicare, Medicaid. We've got a payment problem in the federal government, overpayments since we work with Congress to require them to be reported, are $2.4 trillion. Last year was $242 trillion alone. Fraud during the pandemic was epidemic, epic. We just issued a report that just in the unemployment insurance area alone, it was $100 billion to $135 billion.
So to dig into that, so let me take that and just shift gears slightly,
Sure.
because I hold your concern. I actually hold it for how the EV tax credits are going to be paid when we go into 2024, with car dealers being the determination and sending the money. I think that's ripe for fraud. That's a whole separate conversation.
Right.
Is we look at your uptake of 20% remain open, we're conflicted, and maybe not everyone agrees. Could you just give a little more color as to why we're at 1 out of 5 not being implemented?
Yeah.
And I accept that not everybody's going to agree 100% with everything that's put out by your team.
Well, I'll give you a couple good examples of some big ticket ones that I think could be. For a number of years, and I've been reiterating this over and over again, in the Medicare program, if you go in for evaluation services and you go to a doctor associated with a hospital, as opposed to going to a doctor in their own private practice in a separate commercial building, government pays you more for the doctor and if you equalize that, you'd save $141 billion over 10 years. This is CBO's estimate. But, you know, healthcare's got a lobby, and it's no surprise to anybody, and it's tough to change some of the rules in healthcare. A lot of our recommendations open in healthcare.
So are some of these recommendations and rule changes that Congress has to enact, and so
Absolutely.
Congress is actually the block and the one of not a federal government agency that's failing.
Yeah,
to act.
you said block, not me. But
Yeah, no, right,
it
or
requires
disagree
changes.
or not implement the recommendation,
right.
but it's the legislative side is some of this 20% rather than a federal government agency that you identified.
It's a mix. It's a mix, but it's some.
You're making incorrect payments change X to Y.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah, some require legislative change, and most of the big dollar amounts require legislative changes. And on the administrative side, the problem we've had, cybersecurity, all right? I designated cybersecurity a high-risk area across the entire federal government. First time we ever did that, 1997. We've issued thousands of recommendations. Many of the open recommendations now are in the cybersecurity area or in protecting critical infrastructure protection that I added in 2003. And the agencies are slow to implement these things. That's why I've prioritized the recommendations to them. We're now meeting with, our team meeting with the Secretary of Agriculture, Vilsack, for example, on a quarterly basis to go over open recommendations. We do that at CMS. The CMS and Defense have the lowest record of implementation rates. And I've talked to them. We're working on that, meeting with them on a more ongoing basis. So there's a culture in some of the agencies where it's just difficult to get change in play, and DOD is one of them.
Understood. Thank you for your time, for being here. I know there's a lot of people on your broader team at GAO that work incredibly hard. Thanks to them as well. Nobody can do anything without a good team behind them.
Absolutely.
I know you have a lot of great men and women that are dedicated to rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. There's work we can do to continue to modernize GAO, but appreciate you being here. And I'll yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank you.